How can you do that with your own children?
Meghan quietly signed a new documentary deal, deliberately weaving images of her two children into a scripted tale of tears, portraying them as isolated and oppressed by the royal family, in an attempt to win public sympathy for commercial gain. She personally devised a calculated media strategy, turning two innocent children into tools for smearing the British monarchy in order to generate massive profits. When King Charles III learned of this, he was absolutely furious that both he and his grandchildren had been reduced to commercial assets, while the reputation of the royal family was being turned into Meghan's dirty game. This blatant act of defamation became the final straw that shattered every last ounce of his patience. How will King Charles III expose the truth and protect the innocent children from being caught in Meghan's web of exploitation? And what price will Meghan Markle pay once every one of her sinister schemes is dragged into the light watch until the very end to uncover the full shocking truth behind this story? Meghan was quietly planning to sign a new documentary contract, driven by the ambition of creating a media sensation that would reverberate across the globe. To her, this project had to achieve maximum publicity and deliver the greatest possible influence. To add even more weight to this commercial venture, Meghan decided to include images of her two children, Archie and Lilibet, along with supposedly untold stories from deep within the royal family. She believed that the appearance of the royal children would become the key element in capturing the public's attention. Within the detailed agreement drafted for the production partner, Meghan personally constructed an emotional narrative designed with meticulous care to draw tears from audiences. Throughout the documentary, she claimed that in the past she had been so relentlessly oppressed and isolated by the royal family that she could no longer endure it and was ultimately forced to leave. She did not stop there. Meghan went on to openly accuse the royal family of continuing to treat her two innocent children with the same cruelty even today. She deliberately painted a heartbreaking story in which the children were being denied access to their prestigious royal heritage. She emphasized that the two youngsters were living day after day in sadness, loneliness, and profound emotional pain because they had been isolated and coldly rejected by their own grandfather and other members of the family across the ocean. However, Meghan's media strategy encountered a major obstacle from the very people she intended to work with. The production company proved to be exceptionally cautious, highly professional, and unwavering in placing legal compliance above all else. They fully understood the enormous risks involved in touching upon sensitive issues concerning the British royal family. For that reason, before officially signing this lucrative commercial agreement with Meghan, they wanted to verify the accuracy of every claim with Buckingham Palace, in order to avoid complicated legal consequences that could arise after the documentary aired. The production partner therefore took the initiative to copy the entire content agreement Meghan had presented and sent it directly to King Charles III's office, requesting an official response from the king himself. How will King Charles III react when he sees with his own eyes an agreement filled with accusations aimed at tarnishing the honor of the royal family by his own daughter-in-law? When the documents from the production company arrived, King Charles was stunned to realize that both he and his grandchildren were being turned into pieces in a dirty commercial game. Sitting in his study, carefully turning page after page of Meghan's proposed content agreement, the king became utterly outraged as his daughter-in-law brazenly accused him of being controlling and authoritarian toward his grandchildren before an international audience. His anger continued to build because in reality, throughout all this time, he had deliberately chosen silence and restraint, enduring every criticism simply to protect the children's peaceful lives. This baseless attack on the honor of the crown became the final straw, shattering the very last limits of patience of the monarch who stood at the head of the royal family. Unable to tolerate these distorted accusations any longer, King Charles immediately drafted a direct and uncompromising response to send back to the documentary producers in order to set the record straight. The King's official letter stated clearly, "Buckingham Palace is issuing this official response on behalf of His Majesty regarding the documents connected to your documentary project. We firmly state that the claims made by Mrs. Meghan Markle in the proposed agreement are entirely false and fabricated. At no time has the palace ever oppressed, isolated, or prevented the royal grandchildren from maintaining their family relationships. The facts demonstrate that Mrs. Meghan Markle is attempting to exploit the image of the royal family for commercial gain while misleading the international public. His Majesty and the British royal family categorically reject every one of these baseless allegations and respectfully request that all parties involved honor the historical truth as well as the dignity of the monarchy." Immediately after the response letter was sent, Buckingham Palace took another powerful step. An official warning email from the King's office was sent directly to Meghan in California, demanding that she immediately explain the false information she had presented. The palace's email read, "To Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, by order of His Majesty, the King Buckingham Palace is issuing this email to require your immediate and official explanation regarding the contents of the commercial agreement that you personally drafted with your documentary production partner, which has now been delivered to His Majesty's desk. Your unauthorized use of images of the royal grandchildren, along with your false accusations that His Majesty is controlling and authoritarian toward his grandchildren, constitutes conduct that is entirely unacceptable. You are obligated to clarify the motives behind these defamatory statements before the palace proceeds with any further action." The moment Meghan received the King's official email, fear consumed her. Holding her phone in her hand, she fell into a state of complete panic because she understood that if this situation spiraled any further, her multi-million-dollar documentary deal with the broadcaster would collapse entirely. Gone was the confidence she usually displayed. Meghan immediately began writing a reply to King Charles in a desperate attempt to salvage the situation. In the letter, she frantically defended herself, portrayed herself as the victim, and searched for every possible excuse to shift the blame onto circumstances in hopes of calming the King's anger. Meghan's hurried and fearful response read, "Dear Father, I was utterly shocked and heartbroken to receive the email from Buckingham Palace. I want to state immediately that none of those dark claims reflect my intentions or my purpose in any way. I have been set up and trapped by malicious individuals in a media scheme of which I was completely unaware. The production company independently edited, embellished, and distorted the comments I made during our preliminary conversations in order to create a sensational agreement designed to pressure me into signing it. I have never intended, nor have I ever sought to damage your reputation or accuse the royal family of controlling the children. Please believe me, Father. I have been completely passive throughout this situation and have become a victim of the commercial agenda pursued by outside media forces." Meghan hoped that these desperate vows and hurried explanations would be enough to temporarily deceive King Charles and keep the documentary contract from being canceled. What she could never have imagined was that every one of these lies was about to collide with an even harsher truth, one that would come from someone standing far closer to her than she ever expected. Will Meghan's deceitful explanation be enough to save her from the consequences? Or will a devastating blow from someone at her own side expose her true face once and for all? However, Meghan's web of lies and her hurried attempts at self-defense were exposed almost immediately afterward by none other than her own close personal assistant. As the person who had stood beside her throughout the entire process of developing the concept and preparing the project, the assistant's initial shock soon turned into overwhelming outrage. Unable to tolerate Meghan's selfish and calculated actions that could inflict serious psychological harm upon two young children while damaging the long-standing reputation of the royal family, the assistant ultimately made the courageous decision to come forward as a whistleblower. No longer willing to remain silent in the face of such deception, the assistant personally contacted Buckingham Palace to expose Meghan's true face. Through a confidential phone call and official written statements submitted directly to the office of King Charles III, the trusted assistant made an unequivocal declaration stating, "I accept full legal responsibility for every piece of information I am about to provide. I can state with absolute certainty that the explanations Mrs. Meghan Markle sent to His Majesty are entirely false. There was never any situation in which she was set up or trapped by the production company." In reality, Mrs. Meghan has been personally designing an entirely new media strategy aimed directly at the British royal family, one far more ruthless than anything she has attempted before. As the person responsible for managing her schedule and confidential documents, I can no longer remain silent while watching two innocent children being dragged into this battle for money. This was not a mistake made by the production company. It was a systematic smear campaign personally orchestrated and directed by Mrs. Meghan herself. To prove that these accusations were far more than empty words, the assistant voluntarily surrendered complete copies of the original agreement, along with an entire collection of confidential planning documents that had been secretly kept in their possession. These internal files had been stored on Meghan's personal computer and meticulously documented every stage of the documentary project that she had only moments earlier desperately denied before the king. The exposure of this confidential dossier revealed a meticulously calculated media operation planned down to the smallest scene and every line of dialogue. Meghan's secret blueprint outlined the strategy in precise detail. The first stage focused on exploiting the children. Meghan intended to arrange for and compel Archie and Lilibet to appear directly before the cameras while visibly sad and emotionally distressed. She would deliberately guide the children into crying on camera and expressing feelings of abandonment and rejection by the royal family in Britain. The next phase centered on carefully constructing their dialogue. Meghan planned to coach and direct the children into making statements claiming that they desperately wanted to return to the United Kingdom, to be with their grandfather and their cousins, but that Buckingham Palace had supposedly forbidden them from returning and cruelly prevented them from reconnecting with their royal heritage. The purpose of these tearful scenes was to establish a carefully crafted public image, allowing Meghan to portray herself as a pitiful, isolated yet resilient mother, courageously raising her children alone while standing against what she described as the authoritarian power of Buckingham Palace. Finally, once the documentary aired, Meghan intended to immediately commercialize the campaign by fully exploiting the wave of public sympathy and deep international compassion. Her objective was to secure a series of lucrative sponsorship agreements, advertising partnerships, book publishing contracts, and exclusive commercial products, all marketed under the banner of protecting children, with the ultimate goal of generating enormous financial profits. As the assistant handed over the confidential files to the royal investigators, they offered one final bitter assessment of Meghan's true motives. Mrs. Meghan has been planning this strategy for a very long time and viewed her two children as the ultimate bargaining tool to force production partners into paying a higher price. She knew the public would always side with innocent children facing misfortune. Every tear, every innocent question spoken by Archie and Lilibet in the documentary had already been rehearsed and carefully scheduled long before filming was ever set to begin. Her ultimate objective was never family reconciliation. It was to turn blood ties into a machine for making money and to transform the public's trust into enormous financial profit. The sudden appearance of this first-hand witness, together with the irrefutable confidential documents, delivered a devastating blow that completely shattered every lie and every excuse Meghan had offered only hours earlier when she claimed she had been set up. The fabricated performance had officially come to an end, leaving Meghan with nowhere left to hide, as every detail of her scheme to profit from her own children was exposed to the world in its most naked and undeniable form. What will King Charles III do now that he holds undeniable evidence proving his daughter-in-law's ruthless betrayal? And how will the royal family reveal the historical truth before the eyes of the public? Once everything unraveled and the undeniable evidence provided by Meghan's trusted assistant was brought into the open, King Charles III decided that he would remain silent no longer. He understood that his restraint throughout all this time had not only failed to protect his innocent grandchildren, but had also unintentionally created an opportunity for falsehoods to spread unchecked. The British monarch therefore made the unprecedented decision to break with the royal family's long-standing tradition of silence and address the public directly in order to reveal the complete truth behind Meghan's defamatory accusations. In an official statement released by Buckingham Palace, King Charles III personally delivered a series of clear and powerful declarations designed to shatter every false narrative, claiming that the royal family had isolated the children. His statement read as follows: "In light of the grave misinformation deliberately intended to distort the truth and damage the honor of the royal family, I believe the time has come to speak openly in order to restore the integrity of the monarchy while protecting my grandchildren from schemes of media exploitation. I wish to state unequivocally that Archie and Lilibet's inability to maintain close contact with the British royal family over the past several years has never resulted from rejection, hostility, or exclusion by Buckingham Palace. The truth is that the distance between the children and the royal family has largely arisen from prolonged legal disputes concerning security arrangements, disputes that were initiated by Harry and Meghan themselves against the Home Office. In addition, the vast geographical distance separating two hemispheres, together with the infrequency of family visits resulting from decisions made in California, has been the primary reason these family bonds have been interrupted. Buckingham Palace has never taken and never will take such heartless actions as driving the children away or preventing them from reconnecting with their royal heritage. The king did not stop at these firm declarations alone. Determined to completely dismantle Meghan's false narrative and her carefully scripted tale of sorrow, King Charles III took a step without modern precedent. He instructed Buckingham Palace to release several confidential letters personally written by him and senior palace secretaries to Meghan in previous years. These letters had long been protected under royal confidentiality, yet they were now disclosed publicly before the international media as tangible evidence for the public to examine. An excerpt from the first confidential letter, written personally by King Charles to Meghan before a major royal celebration, revealed the full extent of his compassion and generosity. "Dear Meghan, as our family's great celebrations draw near, I always hope to see my beloved grandchildren Archie and Lilibet running through the palace and reuniting with their family. Geographical distance should never become a barrier separating those bound by blood. Buckingham Palace will always keep its doors open and prepare the very best arrangements to welcome the children home so they may experience both their grandfather's love and their royal heritage. I sincerely hope you will allow me the opportunity to fulfill my role as their grandfather, to embrace them and watch them grow, surrounded by the warmth of family." Following that, Buckingham Palace also released excerpts from a second confidential letter sent by the king's private secretary to Meghan's residence in Montecito, clearly demonstrating the palace's sincere desire to arrange a completely private and confidential reunion with the children. By the instruction of the Prince of Wales, now King Charles III, our office is sending this letter to reaffirm His Royal Highness's wish to spend time with his royal grandchildren. We have already prepared accommodations, secure play areas, and every possible arrangement at the royal residence to ensure the children's comfort throughout their visit. His Royal Highness misses them deeply and sincerely hopes to enjoy private time, strengthening the bond between grandfather and grandchildren. We respectfully ask the Duchess of Sussex to advise us of the most convenient dates so that the necessary logistical arrangements may be completed in a timely manner. However, the painful truth revealed alongside these confidential letters lay in Meghan's own cold and merciless response. Buckingham Palace's complete records demonstrated that every letter filled with goodwill, affection, and sincere initiative from King Charles had been entirely ignored by Meghan. She never offered a single positive response nor did she show any intention of allowing her children to maintain a relationship with their grandfather, an undeniable contradiction of the story she had written into her documentary script to accuse the royal family. The publication of these confidential letters proved before the entire world that it was Meghan herself who had deliberately isolated the children from the monarchy, turning them into unfortunate pawns to serve her own selfish ambitions. Now that the entire truth about King Charles's kindness and Meghan's heartless actions has been laid bare before the world, how will the international public and global opinion react upon seeing her true face? Faced with the overwhelming and irrefutable evidence released by Buckingham Palace, an unprecedented wave of public outrage erupted across the globe almost instantly. The stark truth surrounding the secret media blueprint, together with King Charles III's heartfelt handwritten letters that had been completely ignored, exposed the entire reality of the situation. Meghan immediately became the focal point of international anger. Across news outlets, media platforms, and online forums, she was fiercely condemned for what many viewed as a coldly calculated attempt to profit from the backs of her own innocent children. The public found it impossible to accept that a mother could deliberately script, direct, and exploit the innocence of her two children, turning them into instruments of sorrow for financial gain, while using them to tarnish the reputation of the royal family. Public opinion shifted with astonishing speed, triggering an unprecedented media crisis centered entirely on Meghan. Waves of harsh criticism flooded every platform, condemning what many perceived as her selfishness and deception in using children's emotional well-being as bait to satisfy personal ambition. Every trace of the carefully cultivated image she had built over the years as a devoted and protective mother collapsed overnight in the face of the legally documented evidence presented by Buckingham Palace. On the other side, the media narrative dramatically reversed in favor of the British royal family. Buckingham Palace and King Charles III had endured profound emotional pain for years, silently bearing accusations of being controlling and domineering toward their own grandchildren while watching their reputation repeatedly attacked. Now, however, they finally received what many considered long overdue justice. The king's years of restraint and silence were ultimately understood by the public. In return for those painful years, the British royal family found itself defended and vindicated by online communities and international audiences on an unprecedented scale. Millions of social media users around the world voluntarily launched large-scale campaigns to defend King Charles III's reputation, describing him as a dignified, compassionate grandfather who had always sought to protect his grandchildren, yet had been cruelly defamed. Members of the public continuously presented forceful arguments in defense of the monarchy, while directly challenging every claim put forward by those who continued to support Meghan. This determined and widespread support from online communities became a powerful shield, helping Buckingham Palace restore the credibility, prestige, and royal dignity that had previously been damaged by baseless accusations. Confronted with an overwhelming storm of public condemnation and an unprecedented level of outrage from audiences around the world, Meghan fell into complete despair. Every commercial calculation collapsed. Her multi-million-dollar documentary deal was frozen, and the confidence of her business partners disappeared entirely. She suffered a total collapse, both emotionally and in the carefully crafted media strategy upon which she had placed so much hope. Under the immense pressure of widespread public backlash and relentless criticism surrounding her from every direction, Meghan realized that any explanation she offered at this point would be meaningless and would only intensify the condemnation against her. In the end, with nowhere left to retreat and no way to withstand the undeniable truth, Meghan chose complete silence. She withdrew entirely from the public eye, disappeared into the shadows, and no longer dared to issue any further response before the world, ultimately accepting a tragic ending for the unlawful scheme of personal profit that she herself had created. How do you feel about Meghan's decision to profit from the backs of her own children, and about King Charles III's compassion, combined with unwavering resolve in this storyline? In your opinion, what lesson does the bitter ending of this web of deception offer about family bonds and the price of media-driven greed? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You'll enjoy it.